Crankbait fishing is and always will be one of the top techniques out there to be throwing. Now the reason for that is because when the fish don't want to bite, fish aren't always wanting to bite, but that DT action of deflecting off of a rock or a piece of wood forces those fish to react and bite that bait. So no matter what's going on, I always have a DT tied on. Yeah. DT stands for Dives-To, and that's the Dives-To what depth. So a DT4 dives to 4 feet, and DT6, 6 feet, and so on and so forth. And that makes it really simple to be able to choose and select each individual lure to what depth you're targeting and what you need to be throwing at those fish that particular day. The DT series is hands down the best crankbait family on the market. And the reason it is number one, balsa. All right, there's no other crankbait out there that is as buoyant as a balsa crankbait. And that allows that bait to walk over wood, go through cover better than any other crankbait out there. Now you have consistency. When I break off a DT crankbait, and that's gonna happen, you're gonna get hung up in a rock and have to break off. I know when I tie on that next crankbait, it's gonna be just as consistent as the last one. And that's very important, especially really hard to do with any crankbait, especially balsa. So it's the most consistent, it's the buoyant, and it has one of the best actions out there. Whatever conditions you're dealt with, we have a crankbait for you. So the DT family has 4 different models. You know, first off, in the shallower water, you have the DT Fat. That thing's gonna really wobble really hard. It's going to displace a lot more water, so you're gonna utilize that from a foot to about 3 feet. And then you get into the DT Flat series, and that's 3 to 4 feet to about 7. And that's more with subtle action. You want something that's a little bit more subtle. You know, it's not as aggressive, it's not as wide wobbling, and it works really well in clear water. And then, you know, that mid-range where, you know, that 6 to 8 foot, you have that DT Thug, and that thing gets after it. The Thug is more of it's sort of a shimmy. It wobbles and it has that little rocking side to side action. It's sort of a different kind of crankbait. That Thug will get there in that 7, that 8, and that's when I'm gonna throw that crankbait. And then last but not least is the original DT family, the DT4s, the DT6s, DT10s, 14s, 16s, and 20s. So this crankbait series is, I mean, it has everything that you could possibly think of and more. And that's why there's no other crankbait on the market that I would rather put in my box.